So Kamala Harris is what? Saying that Trump's a communist dictator. Okay, I would not say he's a communist dictator. I think people are saying these words and have forgotten what they mean. All right, a case in point right here. You don't have to believe me. This right here is pure gold.
A tyrant. We used to compare the strength of our democracy to communist dictators. That's what we're dealing with right now, Donald Trump. And these titans of industry are not speaking up. A tyrant.
A tyrant. Well, okay, if he's a tyrant, there's a lot of checks and balances, at least for the time being, that do keep politicians somewhat in line. But from what I remember in the 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration was a lot of censorship happening. I also remember anyone that was against the war in Ukraine or either calling out the war in Gaza was laughed at and mocked at and picked on. Okay. I mean, it's a two-way street here. Now, this was on Rachel Maddow's show, currently MSNBC, now MS Now. What I want to bring up here is something that was very hilarious, though, on why she didn't have Pete Buttigieg as a running mate. So she says one thing. Kamala Harris says she couldn't pick Pete Buttigieg as a running mate because he was gay and there was only 107 days. And then she backpedals from it. And oopsie.
I guess I'd ask you to just elaborate on that a little bit. It's hard to hear.
Yeah.
With you running as, you're the first woman elected vice president. You're a Black woman and a South Asian woman elected to that high office, very nearly elected president. To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay, it's hard to hear.
No. That's not what I said. That he couldn't be on the ticket because he is gay. My point, as I write in the book, is that I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested elections for president of the United States, against someone like Donald Trump who knows no floor.
So we're going to rewind that again. Just one more time. Hold on. I got to hear that again.
Because he was gay. It's hard to hear.
No. That's not what I said.
That is what you said. Say it again.
On that a little bit. It's hard to hear.
Yeah.
With you running, I guess I'd ask you to just elaborate on that a little bit. It's hard to hear.
Yeah.
With you running as, you're the first woman elected vice president. You're a Black woman and a South Asian woman elected to that high office, very nearly elected president. To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay, it's hard to hear.
No. That's not what I said. That he couldn't be on the ticket because he is gay. My point, as I write in the book, is that I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested elections for president of the United States, against someone like Donald Trump who knows no floor, to be a Black woman running for president of the United States and as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man, with the stakes being so high.
You're just digging a hole deeper and deeper and deeper.
It made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk. No matter how, I've been an advocate and an ally of the LGBT community my entire life. So it wasn't about any prejudice on my part, but
that
we had such a short period of time. And the stakes were so high. I think Pete is a phenomenal public servant. And I think America is and would be ready for that.
Boy, jeez. In many ways, look, I was not a fan of how the 2024 election cycles played out. Third parties left much to be desired for. Trump versus Kamala, was first really Trump versus Biden, two old men fighting over a cold bowl of soup, and then Trump versus Kamala. My goodness, I don't know. Part of me thinks we dodged a bullet.
But when I had to make that decision with 2 weeks to go, you know, and maybe I was being too cautious. You know, I'll let our friends, we should all talk about that. Maybe I was. But that's the decision I made. And I, as with everything else in the book, I'm being very candid about that.
Yeah.
With a great deal of sadness about also the fact that it might have been a risk.
I don't know. At this point, any kind of risk would have been better. But here's the thing. Zoran Mandani, I think you've been given the kiss of death.
The folks who you met with in this way include some of the people who you see very frequently now on MSNBC. Jasmine Crockett.
The question was, why didn't they have Pete Buttigieg as her running mate? And she said it's because he was gay. And then Rachel Maddow says, wow, it's rather shocking you said something like that. Here, hold on. In case you missed it, from the beginning.
I guess I'd ask you to just elaborate on that a little bit. It's hard to hear.
Yeah.
With you running as, you know, you're the first woman elected vice president. You're a Black woman and a South Asian woman elected to that high office, very nearly elected president. To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay, it's hard to hear.
No. That's not what I said. That he couldn't be on the ticket because he is gay. My point, as I write in the book, is that I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested elections for president of the United States, against someone like Donald Trump, who knows no floor, to be a Black woman running for president of the United States and as a vice presidential running.
So the question was, you know, how come you didn't have Pete Buttigieg and you get the word salad? I'm not going to subject you guys to any more pain. But hey, someone who could be in pain is an endorsement from Kamala Harris. Zoran Mandani, heads up.
The folks who you met with in this way include some of the people who you see very frequently now on MSNBC. Jasmine Crockett, Angela Brooks, Maxwell Frost, Robert Garcia Moore. Arguably the fastest rising star right now in Democratic politics is Zoran Mandani, who is going to be elected mayor of New York City, and probably in a landslide if the polls are anything to go by. Lots of mainline Democrats have been very shy about his candidacy. They seem somewhat flummoxed by his success. As a sort of talent spotter in the Democratic Party, what do you think of him and his candidacy? And what do you think of mainline Democratic shyness and agitation about the prospect that he's going to win?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, he's the Democratic nominee and he should be supported.
Do you
Oh boy, here we go. The endorsement.
But do you endorse his candidacy?
I support the Democrat in the race, sure. But let me just say this. He's not the only star. I know that, you know, he's in New York, and I know New Yorkers think they're the center of the world, and here we are in New York having this interview.
It is the biggest city in the country.
And I love New York, as the saying goes, I really do. But, I mean, there are people like Barbara Drummond in Mobile, Alabama, Helena Moreno in New Orleans. They're all running for mayor, too, and they are stars. So I hope that we don't so over-index on New York City that we lose sight of the stars throughout our country who are right now running for mayor and many other offices, governor, and so on. So that's where I am. We got a big tent, and we got a lot of stars.
2020.
Oh boy. So there you go. That is a recipe for disaster. Kamala Harris. All right, the word salad. I forgot how bad she was. And I'm actually getting like a brain aneurysm right now. In fact, my brain is vomiting and throwing up and banging itself against a brick wall. So much madness and insanity for this entire day already. And you hear Kamala Harris. Not to mention, you know, you always hear politicians, especially earlier on when we played the first video segment, you hear these politicians call each other communists or socialists, fascists. They're using these words and not understanding the context behind them. It's now becoming a slur. Oh, well, my opponent's a fascist. Oh, my opponent's a communist. Not all while understanding that both parties are controlled by Wall Street, the big banks, lobby groups. Both parties are owned by the top 1%. Both parties dictate, really, and listen to their commands from their owners, and then in turn implement these policies on the rest of us. We're left kind of screwed here for a while, folks. I mean, that kind of royally sucks here. Wouldn't you agree? I think so. So for everybody that is tuning in and watching, I mean, if Trump had been in office, or if Trump not been reelected in office, he would have been calling Kamala a communist, or either that any politician at this point, be it Democrat or Republican now, the name calling is communist, socialist. But then there's also the what if. What if you had this person as your running mate? Well, no, I would not be able to have this person as my running mate because of X, Y, and Z. Well, no one was really prepared. I mean, I will say this, as someone who was there at the DNC convention, the Democrats weren't prepared to have Kamala. Hell, they weren't even prepared to have Biden as their running mate, or he's as their main candidate, because his brain was already melted. There was no plan. Hell, I think Pete Buttigieg is probably breathing a sigh of relief that he was not a part of that embarrassing sinking ship that was Kamala 2024. But I'll have you decide. What do you think? Did we dodge a missile with Kamala? Type 1 for no, Kit. It would have been great. Type 2, it doesn't matter, but I think we kind of did.